It is time for the election, and you guys know that something we've been leaning towards is some kind of crash adding up to after the election, which still means that I think we could see some kind of bounce going on today. We have some decent signals out there to pay attention to, one being the Dow Jones, the DIA here, which we have those weekly expected moves for you. You can see that over on DJI. You see this 30-minute divergence that can curl up the 2-hour chart. So this is something that we're going to pay attention to throughout our day. We do get data in about, what is that, in about an hour and a half, I believe. Is that correct, by the way? Someone needs to check me on that data. I don't know if daylight savings is messing with me there, because usually it comes out at 9 a.m. But just something I want to pay attention to. But today, just so you are aware, the implied volatility for the day has increased a little bit. So if you don't have these on your chart already, 575.09 to the upside, 564.53 to the downside. The Qs, happy vote day. Yes, yes, yes. And 491.54 for the Qs. These spread out as well, 480.48. So some implied volatility coming in. Looks like this has not confirmed down yet, so that is something to pay attention to. Are we going to get some kind of 2-hour bounce for maybe a bigger retest? That is something that we will be looking for. Okay, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Okay, so that would be 10 a.m. So that is, I believe, correct over here. So it looks like we'll get data in about an hour and a half. Which we'll need to pay attention to that, because as of right now, TLT is trying to curl down on that 30-minute. We notice that the yields do have some major reversal signals in here saying, hey, we can head lower, trying to retest that area, trying to get that next move higher with that MACD crossing up, but that might fail after we get some data. We'll pay attention to that. The funny thing about all this is, even though the SPY and all those things look like, hey, those are going to bounce, volatility also looks like it may bounce this morning. Okay, so you see this 30-minute kind of trying to curl up here. Something we want to pay attention to is the 2-hour. I still am leaning towards the 2-hour dipping down a little bit more here to then maybe curl up into positive territory, or going all the way down towards 20 before we see that. So we could see a few days of positivity, but we also could see things just get ugly fast, okay? And that's just because we have weekly confirmations. We have TLT trying to bottom as if people are about to reposition or fly into TLT. It's just we're in a time where it's like, okay, are we going to bounce after today, or are we going to see this thing tear down because of the bigger signals, right? The shorter time frames are suggesting a bounce. The bigger time frames, the weekly and even the monthly for things like AMD, are suggesting that we are going to see some kind of downturn still from here. So I am still leaning towards some kind of bounce. Maybe that bounce takes place for a few days. We'll pay attention to that. But for the most part, we can just say, hey, let's follow the signals. Let's trade like water. If this 2-hour does not confirm up, then we most likely do not see upside. Okay, we do not see upside. If this 30-minute for the Qs, I would say, confirms down, then we might head down towards that daily expected move. And that's why yesterday's video was short, because I was a little bit busy. And there wasn't a ton to go off of here, really. You see this move up. It's pretty controlled on the way down, okay? But if that would cross over, we might see a trade setup coming forward. So we'll pay attention to it. Right now, I think a lot of people are over towards the put side, so an upward move would make sense. We still have some of that rigged behavior coming up in the market today. Yeah, at least 5 times. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4... 5. Yeah, okay, 5 would make it so you actually like the video. You know what I mean? DJT, one thing that we note, oh, not that one, this one. DJT, one thing that we notice here, getting a bounce, giving you 30-minute divergence, suggesting that the 2-hour has the ability to go higher here. So watch if that 2-hour does go up, watch if we do make divergences. But for now, this is what we were waiting for, right? Everyone asking me about DJT all the time, and we just say, hey, look for that 2-hour to give you that opportunity. That opportunity is there right here, and we see some upside. Then we pull back a little more. Then we see that cross back up. We see that upside in positive territory. So something we need here is this needs to cross up. It is a little bit negative, so you want that to go positive, but it's close enough that I think you could see a good move here. Obviously, the way that this thing heads down is if that 30-minute just rotates back down after testing the 5-day moving average. Palantir was very interesting, and this is why we always say, you know, earnings is a 50-50 flip, because you have some major divergences. If you really pull this out to a 4-hour, you can really see how steep that divergence is on your MACD. Not the steepest on the RSI, but still there. And we end up going, what is that, 10%, 15% up. So this is why I stay away from earnings, because even though the charts look like, hey, this thing needs to tear down, well, they can produce good numbers and head up. They could produce bad numbers and still the stock could have done this. That's why I don't try to do anything around earnings. It's just not something that I do. I was really tempted at one point, and actually I was tempted to take calls. So because I was just like, you know, the way that they could really fake this out is shooting Palantir higher. But it looks like some good numbers came in for Palantir, so it does make sense to go higher. Very popular stock. We're seeing that 4-hour try to confirm up. Let's see what happens by end of day for this one. We do have weekly expected moves for Palantir. For Palantir, we have those. But when you see a big move like this, you have to wait for the next opportunity, right? So you know that the direction is up from here. If this all isn't given up, it'd be kind of scary if it was, but if this all isn't given up and we actually see this kind of hold pretty good here and then we end up breaking out, that's kind of what you're looking for going forward for Palantir. You're waiting for the next opportunity, at least in my book. We see the SPY early on in the day here. Just got to see if this 2-hour can confirm some upside. That's what we're really paying attention to. If you notice this though, we came down. What are we doing? We're going to the 5. So right now we are retesting that 5-day moving average, right? We're going to most likely in the morning here. So that's when we'll pay attention. Let's look over at the Qs, see where that 5-day is. You'll notice, where are we? We're right on the 5. So something I would pay attention to early on in the day is just if this 30-minute does rotate back down. That could mean we're heading for a daily expected move. We did not hit the daily expected moves yesterday. So maybe we're going to hit one of those today. Maybe we're going to hit one of those today. And that's what we'll pay attention to. Thank you so much for encouraging people to hit that like button. Really appreciate it. 3M crew. We need to make some pullovers or something like that with 3M on it or something. I think that'd be pretty cool. So we'll get that data in a little bit. Just so you're aware, the dollar is coming down even further. Now you're starting to see where the dollar is going down while stocks are going up. So maybe that negative correlation is starting to come in a little bit. We'll see if the dollar can whip back around. One thing I did notice this morning was Bitcoin. And actually, I was looking at this yesterday, showing the 2-hour divergences is what I was looking at. Now, quick note here, this is on your MACD, triple divergence on the MACD, not quite there on the RSI, just a little bit down, but not too much, so this positivity does make sense. We see that it was able to curl up the 4-hour. The 4-hour has a very, very small flat, not necessarily divergence, I would say, but you do have it on the RSI, just not the MACD at the same time. So this can turn up daily charts again. Now, I do think that that's a little less likely still with the environment we're in. We have to see what happens going on throughout the week. But Bitcoin is suggesting that it's going to go higher here, right? And that's what's suggested by these divergences. So I thought that was very interesting. Proves to be some good things for Mara. We'll see if that can continue to head up in that upward direction, but we have reacted down to a key level for Mara, so watch out if we do get that handle, because this could be some kind of structure to actually head down. Earnings around the corner. Gold, this was interesting because gold, I was talking about the 30-minute really trying to base out here, and if it can take back that 5-day moving average, maybe we're able to curl up into positive territory. Watch out for divergences at these highs. But we notice on the daily scale that we did have some divergence up here. So daily pullback would be, I would say, more likely. Even if we get one more move up, it's more likely that we end up going down over time to curl down near that center line. And then we can see if we can curl up into positive territory for gold. Just something I'm keeping aware of. GME starting to see a little bit of positivity this morning. We see the 2-hour chart here. That's what you need to go positive, and you need this to see a big move, right? But as we get closer to Friday, no, that's when they really can pile on and fight the stock. Now, GME, interesting if this would see a good move, because I am sure that the market makers are focused on AMC, and AMC, you'll notice just some bad price action, no real divergence or anything like that. So this here is curling down on a 4-hour chart, telling you, hey, this is going to head lower. And what I'll watch out for is a big divergence, right? If this 4-hour makes some kind of big divergence at some point, that's what I'm going to be looking for. If we shoot down with the earnings, right, they're prepared to fight the stock, and that actually turns back up, I think that might be the big opportunity for AMC. I genuinely believe that, because every time that AMC or GME has earnings, we see maybe a good move and then it ends up falling. They are prepared to fight the stock. They know the implied volatility is higher. So since they know that, they know there's a bunch of options in this, They can just say, well, most people are probably taking calls. They shoot it down. All those people lose money. They say, yay, we're happy, right? So just pay attention to that. If you want this to go up, you're going to need the 2 hour to cross up into positive territory. Okay, you're going to need that. Does AMC earnings come out in the morning or at night? Wednesday night, so after tomorrow night. So we'll pay attention if we're actually seeing these upside moves, which as of right now you are. You haven't curled up the 2 hour yet, but we are testing that 5-day moving average. So we'll see what happens from this point forward. Make sure to get these daily expected moves on your charts. And thank you so much for being here this morning and leaving a like for the channel. Really appreciate that. Oh, what a morning out there. What a morning. You know what I mean? Like it feels something that was a feeling in my gut this morning. A little feeling in my gut this morning. Not really related to stocks, but just related to, I don't know why, but it was really calm this morning. It's been really, really stormy here this morning. There was Kansas, it's very windy a lot of the time. There was no wind. The sun was out. No one was outside. No one was walking their dog. No one was doing anything. And I just turned to my wife and I said, it feels a little too calm. Feels a little too calm. And I think we're about to see some major moves happen here for the stock market. Now, they can make some funky stuff happen, but I do believe by the end of the week, we are going to see a big move, and maybe that won't be the right one. I really think that's because what could end up happening here with the election, I know this isn't trying to get political or anything like that. This is just saying some scenarios that could happen with the election, okay? The election could get interesting because you have multiple states, multiple counties actually saying they are giving up to 4 days, up to 12 days to receive mail-in ballots to get those voting, the voting to come in, those votes to come in, and they're going to count those. And something interesting could be, well, what if the Supreme Court rules that that is not constitutional, right? Because there's technically it's supposed to be everything's in by election day, right? I'm not totally versed on this, but I would think that would be a scenario that would really cause some people some anger. And so I'm looking for scenarios that can really make people mad. And I know that's kind of crazy, but the signals that we're seeing here are suggesting that this is a major top, that maybe we have that one more move higher to get up into our sell zone, and then this could be a major top, right? If that move fails, this is most likely a major top. So that's what we're paying attention to. If it doesn't fail, if it's able to curl back up on the daily scale, we've bought ourselves some time. We've bought ourselves some time, okay? So that is key to understand. Once this daily turns up, you got to say, okay, we're probably exceeding that 584.50 level, and we're probably going to go into that positive gamma, which I believe actually positive gamma is a little bit closer. I think that 575 is more likely where that positive gamma is. Actually, let me go look. Let me go look at some data here, and I can probably figure that out. Let's see where this week that would be. Yeah, you say 580. If you can retake 580, then you're probably going to see a new all-time high, is what I would think. You can really hold above our zone. We'll say that. If you can hold above this zone, then you're most likely going to go higher. So if we break through this zone, we get this test, maybe we go test something like 84.50, we curl back down and then curl back up. That is how I think we get the new all-time high with the little bit of data that I'm looking at here. Nvidia though, one key thing with Nvidia, and I know, I'm sorry, we weren't able to really go through a lot of these yesterday, just very, very busy. The 2 hour was able to curl up, still very flat, still negative. Okay, still very flat, still negative. So not by a weekly expected move, anything like that. No real divergences, taking back the 5. So Nvidia is suggesting that we're going to make that next move higher. All right, and you see the Qs still seeing that positivity come in. So let's see that. If that can curl up on a 2 hour MACD, that's going to be a good sign. If that comes up to here and rejects, that's a bad sign. So something we're paying attention to is that gap fill. Can we get back in this, grab that liquidity, and turn right back down? Can this turn up, turn right back down? So we'll be paying attention mostly to a 30-minute here. I'm not going to take any kind of upside play for any of these stocks because it's too risky with those weekly signals, right? So what I'm looking for now is, do we see an extended, maybe, you know, this could be year 1, 2. Do we get that 3, 4, 5, and then we end up falling with some kind of 30-minute divergence? That's kind of what I'm looking for by the end of the week. I think that would be very interesting to see. And then to the other side, we're just looking for this. You know, do we make a divergence here, or does this not form, and does that just fall through the floor because of the weeklies crossing? A lot of interesting scenarios that could happen here. Big rise coming, all in buy, and there is big stuff happening, and you do have some things to support this bounce, right? That's why over the weekend we were talking about a bounce into election day. We weren't talking about a further crash until we see what happens with the election and how these things can add up to the election is going to maybe cause some positivity at this point because we've taken some time, but there's a big move for you in the morning. So are we going to see this get up and then be some kind of trap? That's what we'll pay attention to. We'll look at that PCC early on because that was a very, very high yesterday. The dollar was coming down. You had the opportunity for a rigged move to the upside at the end of the day. Didn't really happen. Now you're getting some kind of move to the upside, testing the 5. So if this is going to fail, the 30-minute is going to cross down here, right? But with this type of breakout, I really doubt this thing fails. I really doubt this thing fails at this point. Doesn't mean I'm taking the play. Screw that. Volatility really dropping off there. So 2 hour, we're going to have to see if that happens. Remember the daily, we need that to cross to see positivity, just so you are aware. You do have that slight divergence on the MACD, nothing on the RSI, right? Still up on the RSI, just a little bit, which is a little bit higher. So if the daily does cross, I expect we are going to retest the 200 at that point. So we could see a little mini squeeze come in for a couple of weeks here, if that did happen. But the weeklies are suggesting that that is very, sorry about that, very unlikely. More likely to see that 4 hour get down by 20 and then curl up into positive territory. Tesla with a nice move. Tesla, let's go check on that real quick. This is something that had a bunch of wonky little divergences. We went down into our zone. That's fantastic. And that says the 2 hour can cross up here, and the 2 hours right by positive territory. If you go look at a chart and you see a stock like this, that's when you go look for the opportunity, right? You see a stock that has the MACD really close to the center line. That's when you go look at that 30 minutes, see if there's divergences and see if you can get a pop. Because Tesla is one thing we were saying does not have reversal signals up here, right? So this could go all the way like that, and then you see the reversal signal. And this is kind of what I'm talking about, why we need to pay attention to these 2 hour moves if they're going to take place, which they are right now. IWM was suggesting that the 2 hour is going to curl up. IWM is suggesting the daily is going to turn up. That's what IWM is suggesting, right? Because you have 2 hour divergence, you have 30-minute divergence. It's suggesting that the momentum here isn't that good, and this could actually end up going higher. So what do you have to be aware of? Well, if that 2 hour just crosses back down, because that could be some kind of head and shoulders in here to go lower. So that's something we'll pay attention to as well. TLT trying to buy back up, confirming fan-freaking-tastic signals on the 2 hour, on the daily. You need that to produce over here at the 10-year. That has not crossed over yet, even though you have major reversal signals here for the 10-year and you have major reversal signals to the upside for TLT. You have not seen that cross down on a daily MACD just yet. So it's key to understand that these things can bounce, right? That's why we move back and forth. That's why we trade like water. That's why I move my positions probably every 1 to 2 weeks. Semis are getting pushed up. Let's look at semi SMH just to see what's going on here. Well, the daily, remember, if the daily can turn up, we can make a new high from the previous. I do not believe we will get to here. I do not believe that that is possible. At least right now. We'll see if that's able to prove later on. But if we just look into this, what is it? 2 hours curling up. That's what we're looking for. The 2 hour was able to curl up. Nice little, you know, gap up, making a nice little shelf, very controlled, fantastic. See if that can curl up, see if that can break through, take back the 5. Nvidia is going to help out with that if that can remain positive. The only thing scary about Nvidia is this is not the best thing in the world. It's very controlled to the upside. So you have to be aware of how you can get screwed. How you can get screwed in this one is most likely a good time frame to probably look at for this one is probably if the hourly can cross down. You see how that hourly is very close to the center line. Apple's one, that is interesting. And it's interesting because you have a little rejection divergence down here. I prefer the real flowy, nice, easy looking divergences. I'm not a big rejection guy, but a lot of people believe that rejection divergence can be stronger. But what are we doing as of right now? We're reacting to the zone, and seeing that resistance come in. So we'll see, because maybe we need to actually go make a divergence, right? Maybe we need to make a real divergence, one that pops up on the MACD and RSI at the same time, not just a rejection. So still paying attention to if the Qs are going to fade this, if they're going to cross down on a 30-minute MACD. Hopefully everyone's doing all right out there. I hope everyone is getting out there to vote, because in my belief, right? And I'm glad that I was able to watch the podcast between Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, because he believes exactly what I believe, which is fantastic. We won't talk about that, but he believes exactly what I believe, which is awesome, because me and my buddy were talking about it about 8 months ago. Cool. Very cool. TLT has not curled down on the 30-minute. Okay, this would be something that convinced you, hey, this could go fill that gap before it's actually going to turn. Something that will really affect this is the data in just a little bit. Do you think that's why Tesla is popping? Well, weirdly enough, Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter, all of these things that Elon Musk is in are at extreme risk of just being gone. It's extreme risk of being gone. Because if Kamala would win, he said it too, and I think he's right to say it, is if Donald Trump doesn't win, Kamala does, they are going to attack Twitter with everything. And I think that Elon Musk will have a hard time getting more funding to keep producing good things like he's doing. I genuinely believe, especially after that rocket thing, I was just like, holy crap, this guy is actually doing really cool stuff. This guy is doing stuff that people thought could not be done. And I think that's amazing, right? I think Tesla is a great company. So it's kind of like, but if you need to know about this, Bill Gates consistently shorting Tesla all the time. Even though Tesla is right, Bill Gates wants green, Tesla is a super green company if you really think about it. He really believes that cars function better with electricity, not gas. And I think that's perfectly fine to believe that, and he probably understands it way better than I can, right? I don't trade car stocks because I'm not a car guy, really, so I don't really look into those things too much. But he is stating that it functions better as that, and you have these big elite higher up people who are actively at times really shorting Tesla all the time, actually. So if they're shorting Tesla, it's like it's one of the leading companies of green energy. Joe Rogan did endorse Donald Trump, and I think that's fantastic. And I think that Joe Rogan is frustrated with the fact that Kamala wouldn't come and speak on his podcast. I think that's genuine. And the cool part about that was, if you watch the Joe Rogan Elon Musk podcast, you start to see like Joe Rogan doesn't hold back. He starts to actually talk about what he thinks, and I think that's awesome. They had a man in a short skirt at Boeing working the floor, like doing physical engineering, like doing physical work in a skirt. And like, what the fuck is going on, man? Does that crossover RSIs come with the MACD indicator? So the RSI is its own thing. Okay, you can leave it. So like if you do this, you can leave this on. You can have a moving average, right, for your RSI. I'm more a guy that pays attention to when that strength becomes positive with the RSI, because the RSI, you notice, will go positive before the MACD goes positive. That's why I like the RSI down there. If the MACD crosses and the RSI is going positive, that's when I really like things. So you can leave that on there if that's something you want to utilize. It's just me personally, I don't utilize that too often. I don't think it's the most useful, but if you think it's strong for your trading strategy, I totally understand. Looks like it could get juicy over for AMC. AMC flipping back to positive. This is fantastic. What you need from AMC is the 2-hour to turn up. You need the 2-hour to turn up, though. So this is going to take some work. This is going to take some work, okay? And just know, Dr. Z4, just know, every single time we see implied volatility really, really high, just know that the market maker, the short sellers are aware that that has a chance for a massive move. So most of the time when these things happen, unless they're out of liquidity, they are prepared to fight the stock. All right, they are prepared to fight the stock in any means necessary. And what that could mean is, even if it's going to see positivity after earnings, maybe they clamp down on it by Friday close, have it close at a low price, and then it just skyrockets next week. You know, that could happen. I'm not expecting that to happen. I just want to see a good signal. The good signal would be if the 2-hour can curl up here. Exactly, but they're prepared for that. If you really want to see, this, look at earnings the last time, right? This is when they actually came out and they actually said really good news on earnings. Look what happened the next day. Look what happened the day of. Gap down. Look what happened the next day. Shoots down. Goes down towards our 437 and good things, right? Now, when they weren't prepared for earnings, right? Notice what still happened. Shoots down, then pops. That's what I'm talking about here. It could shoot down, then pop if the news is good. If they don't have enough liquidity to fight the stock. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Every time you see this E, just know that the market makers, the short sellers, they all see that E as well. So I think they are ready. Are they ready in that they're just giving up and they're going to buy the stock early? They're going to buy a bunch of options to make this thing, make them some money back because it's very, very, they're pretty much screwed. Or are they, or do they have enough to fight the stock? And that's what we have to pay attention to. That's really it. We don't know how much liquidity they still have, but we could say they could easily grab liquidity by selling off the market. And is that sell off in the market, if that does come to fruition and they use that liquidity, is AMC going to be forced down or is that going to go up? Oh, I think it's all going to be positive, Dr. Z4. I think it's all going to be positive, okay? I genuinely believe that AMC is going to have a very positive earnings. But my question is, are they going to fight the stock? That's going to be my big question. Yeah, I think it's like their numbers just get better and better. They're breaking records all year long. I don't think that this is a bad company by any means. It is the biggest theater company, right? As far as how many locations they have, but the price of their stock, they just, you know, look at Cinemark or something like that. And Cinemark is, implied move is 6.8%. Implied move for the week is this. I mean, well, where did we open? Let's go off of the open here. Let's go here. Implied move for the week is 15.48%, but for the day, it might be 6.8%. But that's the implied move for the week, which is the more what I'm going to read into. Because every single earnings, and we can maybe look at Palantir or something like that. Let me go over to my other chart so I can get that. Palantir, where's it going? It's going past its weekly expected move. It opened up near it, it's going past it, okay? So what happened with Tesla? Tesla during its earnings, what did it do? Well, the weekly expected move was right here. So it goes up to that weekly expected move a lot of the time. And if it's good, it can exceed that. And you see that right here from Tesla. Which, by the way, with Tesla, this is your bad sign. If that would cross down. That's your bad sign. But yeah, you see a lot of moves that are bigger than the implied move for the day, and they go above weeklies a lot of the time. And that could be the case for AMC. I'm always going to hope that that big moment does happen, right? I'm going to hope, but am I going to expect it? No, I'm just going to look for a good signal. The 2-hour curling up would be a good signal. All right, let's see if this 10-year, it is crossed up on a 2-hour. Relatively controlled. Still waiting on data probably for that one. The housing sector, something we want to keep our eye on is the fact that it did have a little 30-minute divergence in here. If that 30-minute rotates down, that's bad. Or 2-hour divergence here. So if that 2-hour rotates down, that's bad. Was it able to curl up the daily? Not yet, but it is suggesting that the daily can. Okay, until that 2-hour curls down, you can't say like, oh, this is going down. The daily can still curl up as long as that 2-hour is crossed up. But volatility is dropping pretty quick. Quicker than I expect, actually. And I think this is the scenario. I genuinely believe maybe if Donald Trump wins, we see that. But if Kamala wins, we might see that. Right? Kamala is the president that is pushing politics. Just so you're aware, she is the presidential candidate that is pushing policies that will cause more inflation. If you guys want, I can do a whole video on it. And we can just go over one of her policies for the housing market, right? All right, am I playing it? Yes, I pretty much, my strategy with AMC is you have no idea when the moment's gonna happen, so I just hold on to the stock, and then at the same time, every single month, I normally, if it's at lower prices, I can get really cheap options, I'll just take an option for the end of the month, right? And what I do is I use my trading in the regular market, right? I take my profits from regular trades from Nvidia that I normally do, and then I just add some call options in the first part of the month for the end of the month, pretty much every single month. Just so I'm always in the move with call options, but I'm always in the move with general, just regular stock shares and stuff like that. Shorting Meta today. Well, let's go look at that real quick, okay? So this here, something we need to watch out for. That 2-hour can turn up. Why? You have 30-minute major divergence for Meta. These type of signals are why I am still leaning toward maybe AMC coming down with earnings, and maybe we see these tech stocks go way up, and then at the end of the week, we have to see, do they create those reversal signals? Most likely by the end of the week, I will, if we end up at like all-time highs for some of these stocks, I most likely will be building short positions, at least first positions there. Not necessarily a indication that we should short, right? It's not that, Emmanuel. What we want to see are the signals, right? We can't perfectly guess what the stock market's going to do. If anyone tells you they can, they're just lying to you. We play signals. And so what are we seeing with the signals right now? Well, we have a 30-minute divergence that could cause a 2-hour bounce. If the 2-hour was to get to this zone, well, that's going to cross up this MACD, which would suggest positivity, right? But as we're going up to that zone, we might be out of that move. We might see some dramatic upside. That's perfectly fine. We want to look for those good signals. All you need to know is this. That's crossed down. So the likelihood of this going up to that zone and selling off is high. Does it mean even I'm going to take a position? I might just take like a small short position or a call position in volatility. But am I going to bet everything on it? No, because it would be risky. And I think you're going to get a bunch of opportunities, Emmanuel. I think you will. I think this will be in the form of a bear market. I think there's going to be a lot of confusion going on throughout until January 20th. I think there's going to be a ton of confusion. So we do have that opportunity for a bear market, which is where the course really exceeds, where that strategy in the course really exceeds, right? The information is there so you can learn, maybe apply it to your own strategy. And then I give you one that I use all the time. It works very, very well when volatility is above 20. What is volatility above right now? It's above 20. So what's the signal that we are seeing as volatility is above 20? The SPY is getting a divergence. That means, Emmanuel, that this could extend into the end of the week if it wanted to. This could take its time. This could break out. This could retest. This could go up like this. Then it could fail, right? This could take a long time. We just want to play good signals. Right now you have a good macro signal saying things are going to turn down. So if this 2-hour pops up and then on Friday we see this and it curls back down, or maybe going into next week, that curls back down, well, then that's going to be right by negative territory. And that's something I'm really looking for. I'm hoping that I get a little 30-minute divergence in here so it's clear, because bear markets make those little 30-minute divergences that cause 2-hour moves all the damn time. So I'm still holding it. I'm still holding that. But now I think we've bought ourselves maybe another day or two. if we're going to turn down after the election. And I think it's highly dependent on if Kamala or Donald Trump wins. I think if Kamala wins, we do have the opportunity to correct, but we probably go higher because all of her stuff is inflationary. All of her stuff is inflationary. Every single bit of it is the government's going to give money. That is all inflationary. All of it. I'm going to fix the border. Yeah, that is inflationary because you have to spend money to fix the border. So, do I think she's going to fix the border? No, not in the way that you want. Not in a way that is good for the average citizen. Not in a way that is good for the people. No, they want to allow millions of people to come in per year, at least. At least, what is it? The bill that everyone talks about, it was 1.8, and I read that on Twitter before all these podcasts. I looked at a guy who voted in it, who voted against it, looked at his Twitter, and he posted why it failed. It's not because Donald Trump said shoot it down. It's because they allowed 1.8 illegal immigrants to come in every single year. That is still a massive problem. They would be imported to swing states, and you would no longer have swing states anymore. And then just wait. Because if it happens even more, if it holds after that, then they're going to start importing them to red states, making every red state a swing state and every swing state a blue state. That's what I think happens. And I've thought that for 8 months. Me and my buddy sat with a little glass of whiskey one night, just chilling, had some dinner, talked about stuff. We ended up talking for like 3 hours, and that's what we came up with. And that's when we came up with the fact that most likely a few months before the election, there would be some kind of assassination attempt. And if you go look on our channel, we called the first assassination attempt 4 days before it happened. Pretty cool. And that's just paying attention to signals, reading into what's going on, seeing that Joe Biden was struggling, and I go, ooh, they might do an assassination attempt here. Happened 4 days later. Pretty cool. That might have been a little bit of luck. I will say that. Key support for volatility. That is what Elon said on JRE. And that's why I was saying a little bit ago, I was like really enjoying watching that because Elon sees things how I see it. And I think that's awesome. And he's much smarter than me. So the fact that I'm getting that kind of credibility from someone that smart saying it makes me feel like, okay, I'm aware of the right things. That's all I'm trying to do, is be aware of the right things. Just like in the stock market, just like how the TLT, we need to be aware if this curls down on a 30-minute. That's going to be huge. If that curls down on a 30-minute, we could go down to this low or make a new one. And that's just because we're still close to the center line. I like UVXY, Terry, personally. Don't do much with UVIX. I have before, but UVXY is kind of one that I've done more of, so I think I just have a better, I don't know, you know, you trade a stock and you sit there and you go, okay, I've traded this enough that I just feel very comfortable with it. Just very comfortable with it, and that's how I am with UVXY. I don't think UVIX is bad by any means, you know what I mean? I don't think it's bad by any means. I just have done it for a long time. I think that UVXY and VIX with the potential to make money is pretty good there. But I think there's plenty of argument for UVIX. But I think the main thing is I've just used UVXY more. So that's the one I'm going to use, is because I have more practice with it. QQQ at the daily high here, okay? At the daily high. There you go. Let's see if that resistance can come in this morning. Most likely with this type of move, we will need an hourly to cross down. But remember, this could still for the Qs be a cup and a handle, really. Just a very, very consolidative, right? We didn't really get to that zone, so maybe you needed to get to that now and cause something, but that wouldn't technically be cup and handle anymore. Finishing red at the end of the day, it could. It definitely can. Because you're already down at levels where, you notice this, where a cup, a handle would already make sense. So be very aware if this 30-minute crosses down. Trap, you're not seeing too much trap behavior. You're seeing PCC come out in the middle. So it's kind of who's going to get it right today. It's kind of a game of that. TLT has not crossed down. SPY, and one of the things we can look for is this. Do we get a bigger time frames confirmation? That's going to be huge. Do we actually get this 2 hour to curl up into positive territory? Do we maybe get some good news? Maybe this is this. Maybe we get that big retest we were talking about. Remember when we talked about that big retest that takes you to an all-time high? You retest this line here. You do that. That could still happen. But what anything could happen. That's my bet. Yeah. I'm taking puts and calls now. What we want to just see is just hedging, right? You know, Dr. Z. We just want to see, does a bigger time frame confirm upside? There are decent signals in here. There are decent signals in here. What's that confirming? Another good signal. Okay, so this is suggesting that can go up. Is that going to go up because of AMC? We'll find out. We need that 2 hour to really curl up to know if this is going to see positivity for GME and AMC. Netflix is an interesting one, trying to maybe curl up into positive territory on the 2 hour. That would be interesting. Check data. I believe data doesn't come out for a bit. At least I didn't think it did. No, I'm getting the data here. So ISM Services PMI coming out at 56. 56. So that actually could cause the yields to go up, which means TLT might need a management of the trade for a second here, if I'm reading into that correctly. Let me read the other ones. I love that on my on Trading Economics. I love that the presidential election is on there as big news today. Actually, it's not even highlighted, so it's not even considered big news today. But yeah, it seems ISM Services prices going up, down from the previous, but up from what expected. Services new orders down. Services employment up. Services business activity down. And the ISM Services PMI actually ticking up here from the previous and up from the forecast. Very interesting. Now we just see how the market reacts. Palantir now up 20%. All right, let's see how the market is looking into that info. As of right now, hitting a daily expected move very early on in the day, but no reversal signals, right? I need to see a reversal signal outside of there. If you break through that, that can show a good move. Maybe I'll look at the Qs for today. Actually, let's look at the SPY. Is the SPY at its move? Almost. Yeah, so your big point of call is your big call wall is right at 575 for the SPY. For the Qs, so 575 is not only major resistance because of our expected moves, right? It's also resistance because you have a major call wall right below it, right? 575, just barely below it, you have your resistance level. And that would be 490 for the Qs. We're already above that, okay? We're already above that level, which means everyone trying to call a crash today, which was, you know, everyone at 487. Okay, so that's where we could gravitate towards for some support maybe. Get a little bounce off there. There could be some buyers leaning in here. But yeah, the biggest call wall was 490. You're already above that. So if you hold above that, those people get out of those positions down here that can shoot the market higher. So the big thing is just, do we curl up on a 2 hour? All right. Do we curl up on a 2 hour? That's the big deal. All right, let me click around on other charts. I know I'm clicking around a ton. I just want to be very aware of things that are going on. Bitcoin retesting its 5-day moving average. Palantir still up now 20%. AMC is green. Amazon might be trying to curl up a 30-minute chart soon. Apple is going to be big if the 2 hour can confirm up. You could get a retest of something like 228.80. I think that would be interesting. Let me keep clicking through. Tesla. Tesla's strong move here. Strong move here. Tesla might be our good hint. Tesla might be a good hint, actually. If Tesla's able to curl up on a 2-hour, it sees a massive move. And then we see this massive move, and then that comes up to here and fails. That's going to be huge. That might be a big hint that the daily is going to rotate down and Tesla is going to suffer. Flip across up the 2-hour, retesting the breakdown area for Nvidia. You see the breakdown area really where we gapped, kind of this little zone in here. Where are we right now? Well, we're testing it. The first time we tested it, failed a little bit, getting up into it again. We'll see what happens, because this 30-minute, it's not overbought, so I don't like that divergence. It's just this is so controlled. It's so controlled. I want to see a little bit more positivity in these moves from Nvidia, and I think people might just be waiting a little bit. If we do see some reversal signals setting up outside of weekly expected moves, just make sure you're tuning into the Patreon, because the Patreon, which is down in the description, is where we might be putting out that weekly update video, especially if we see some trade setups. AMD trying to see some positivity, little rejection there, just doesn't seem like the easiest trade. Meta looks pretty good with that. Not out of weekly expected move or anything. In these type of times, I like to be very patient for me to see reversal signal outside of weekly expected move. If I'm going to take a big play, I want to see some good signals. Tesla up 4%. This is what I'm talking about with Amazon, seeing if that can curl up on a 30-minute. Watch out if that goes like this and turns down. That's going to be a big deal. But you don't necessarily have the chance, right? If you do that, you're not going to be at a weekly expected move, so that could just be a pullback. Let's go back to the SPY. Let's look at the Qs, because those are right off of the daily expected move. Don't you love daily expected moves? You know, this could still be building up. It could build up, build up, build up, and break through. We'll see. Oop, I just deleted that. Shit. It's not good. I'm gonna pull that back up. Alright guys, I gotta fix something real quick. Just delete it out of something that I did not want to delete out of. Let me sign back into it here. All right. Oh, I didn't notice. Someone did donate over on PayPal. So thank you so much for the $7 donated over to PayPal. Just want to see good signals. Get ready, the red's about to start. We'll see. As far as today, Jari, the T is mainly just, can we curl up 2-hour charts? Can we confirm a move higher, get some kind of upward move, maybe into Friday, and then see this thing turn back down? Or, because the weeklies are crossed over, right, there's two scenarios, which I think is you're going to get a 2-hour bounce here. We'll see if we can defeat this, right? Take out that high, maybe go make a new one, right? We'll see if the SPY makes the lower high, because that's a little bit steeper to the downside, in my opinion. But the other side to that is, does the weekly have something to say here, right? Is this weekly divergence going to say, hey, this is a pivotal point in the market? Because the last time we saw this signal, bad things happened. Really bad things. 28% drop in the market over a year. So I think we might see that again. That's what this signal is suggesting, is downside potential. Should we look at the magic coin? I think I have it right behind me, actually. We had to replace the magic coin last time, remember that? Exactly, Sid. And yes, they've come out and said that. They've said they're not going to, and that is just completely crazy to me. Guys, he was president before, nothing bad happened. We had the most peaceful presidency, I think, of like almost all time. He didn't try to put people in jail. He didn't do anything they said. They did everything that they say he's going to do. So it's just gaslighting to the max. Coin 2-hour chart. And Bitcoin does look decent, which can mean good things for coin. There you go, 2-hour, yeah, looking like it wants to curl up. You probably had that little 30. Yeah, your rejection one though. Not the biggest fan of rejection ones, but it does make sense. Bitcoin seeing that good divergence, so coin can see positivity when Bitcoin sees positivity. Oh. Give me one sec, Mr. Engineer. Two seconds, Turkish. I think you'd like, a lot of the time you'd like a retest of a VWAP. I'm not the, biggest user of VWAPs, but yeah, they are, they're coming in and always doing that. We get some bots these days. Oh yeah, and that's something I'm playing with, guys. And I know everything's on YouTube. I love YouTube, but something about YouTube is I really want to start maybe posting full-length videos to Twitter and maybe even Rumble. Well, it's, the only thing you can read into a GME, Jari, with the election is if Trump wins, he says he wants to clamp down on the illegal behaviors happening in the market. That's the main thing. So that means I think it could be good, right? But if Kamala wins, then she just wants to give more benefits to the really rich people. She wants higher inflation. Higher inflation just makes the poor poorer, makes the middle class into the lower class, and then it just makes the top 10% richer. That's just what happens with her policies. The policies that she's suggested during this whole run would do that. You might be able to buy a house, but you won't be able to pay for it. You're going to pay right now. If you saw on Twitter, I kind of reposted it, but you saw on Twitter, Unusual Whales posted about 25% of households spend more than 95% of their monthly income on necessities per Bank of America. And this is where I said, remember when they say the economy is good and GDP is good and this is good for America? These things have nothing to do with the average American. If you want anything to get better, you need deflation. Kamala's policies are inflationary. If you want, I'll explain how in a video by talking about the 25K first home buyer. Right? We can just talk about that one alone, which is supposed to be something good for the people. It's always something that's it's like it's got that cloak around it that says, I'm good for the people, but when you get rid of the cloak, it's just terrible. It's like you might get a house, but you might not be able to afford food to put in your house. You might not be able to afford a couch to put in your house, right? So that's what's going on. These are inflationary things. I mean, unless they magically out of nowhere create utopia and give everyone money all the time and we don't have some kind of debt crisis, like it's just impossible with where we're at. I would like no tax on work whatsoever. Tariffs are not inflationary if they're high enough. The point of tariffs, just so you understand, the point of a major tariff is to make things cheaper here. So in order for these companies to produce, that's why you're seeing European stocks go down, right? You're seeing European stocks start to kind of price in what if Trump wins? And that's because it is bad for them. It's bad for them. It will cause those things to inflate, right? You're not wrong in saying a tariff on a good will cause it to inflate. But the point of those tariffs is to encourage you not to pay for it. Not to pay for it, and then encourage those companies, if they want to sell things in America, they have to make their factory in America and hire American workers. It gives jobs to Americans. If it causes a little bit of inflation, it's okay, because more so, you're not going to see people without jobs. And that's it. It's just, if they're high enough, it causes us to buy other products or not buy the product at all. Now, is he going to do that with necessities? You know, necessities is where, if he did it with necessities, that's where it can get a little sketchy, in my opinion. Yes, tariffs do raise prices. So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think is funny. A lot of people always talk about the fact that these billionaires become more billionaire. They get more money. How do you think that happens? Do you think part of that is because they make a massive, massive margin on these Apple phones that are made with slave labor, with people that literally want to end themselves and jump out of buildings? You want these billionaires to pay more taxes. What if they just paid you more money instead? And a good way to do that is to produce at home. No, it costs way less than that, visionary trader. It costs less than that to make an iPhone. Because of the labor, I'm pretty sure an iPhone, like made overseas, might cost $120. Like you just have to think too. Like, it's in their best interest to have a bigger margin to endorse someone like, say, Kamala Harris, because they're going to make the big margin if they endorse her. She's going to allow them to keep doing these things and give them funding here at home, government funding for certain projects. Oh, I got you, Emmanuel. We can maybe figure out a way. I'm gonna try to make multiple ways. iPhone production cost is about €100. What part? What part's not what part was right wing about what I said? I just explained how a big tariff works. Someone just explained how they have big tariffs on US cars, so they do not buy US cars over there. What do they buy? They buy probably domestically what's made there, and it's probably cheaper. But that's all. No, that's not conspiracy. It's not conspiracy to talk about tariffs. That's just how tariffs work. I mean, that's just a very common sense way to think about it. And I can tell you this, if it's not good for the country, they won't, Trump wouldn't do it. Just so you know, just so you're aware, and I'll just say it one more time, and then we're going to look at stocks. Everything Harris does is good for the rich and bad for the poor. Look at how much people are spending for necessities right now. Who doesn't care about the price of necessities because stocks are higher, the top 10%? Inflation is another way to tax, so she can get more money in the government. They make more government jobs, they pay more people to work in government. Okay? This is the last time I'll say it. If it doesn't click in your brain, that's perfectly fine. Every single thing that Harris does is good for rich people and bad for poor people. Everything that Trump does is good for Americans all across the board, and that's important. Goodbye. Okay, Nvidia crossing up here. We'll still see if that can produce some more positivity. And if you don't believe that way, that's perfectly fine. You're still entitled to your vote. I am not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just telling you how it is. Okay, housing's starting to bounce a little bit here too. So now crossing up on a 4-hour, have the 2-hour divergence, so daily scale can turn up here. Daily scale turns up, that could mean, ooh, if that goes positive, it could take out this high. It's close enough, but it's still far away. Got to be aware of the lower high. Dow Jones, 30-minute. Yeah, that's confirming. That's confirming. Okay, so Dow Jones is suggesting that we're going to see a bounce here. So is Bitcoin. Bitcoin and Dow Jones are suggesting we see a bounce here. IWM suggesting we see a bounce here. SPY slightly suggesting not as good of signals as the Dow, but SPY is suggesting that we're still going to bounce here. We'll see. We'll see if something bad happens, right? That's always possible with those weeklies crossed down, but these signals are pretty good. So upside potential. Maybe we're going to get that full retest. We'll see. TLT might cause a management of the trade. Already getting 2 indications of that management coming down below the moving averages and about to see the MACD cross, but you have the RSI crossing down below the center line. Apple rejected a little bit from the zone yesterday, but it's still holding up towards it. I'd more be interested if that curls up on the 2-hour, takes back the 5. Gotta curl up to take back the 5. Tesla saw some good upside, but not confirmed yet on your MACD. Trying to confirm a little bit on the RSI, not confirming on the MACD, confirming in the moving averages a little bit. Still got an hour left for that. Let's go see what's going on out there. Just look at some, let me re-look at this data. No. Let's get off of Tesla for a second. Still go look at the Qs actually. How positive is the 15? Not very positive. We will see. I'm gonna go check on 381. Interesting. ELP. Might just scale in again to this for my investment, actually, if this 30-minute drops. Okay. Hold on, let me move some stuff real quick. Look. Refresh. All right. So TLT telling us this bar. This will be the bar to watch for TLT if that crosses down. Right, this is the bar. If it's gonna hold up here, you're probably hoping that 5-minute can turn back up, but no real reversals there, so really could just be a little tiny little cup handle. So this is the bar to watch for management of the trade. If that's a little negative bar, or if it's just red here across, that is suggesting that lower for the TLT would make some sense. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Had to look at something for a second. Still relatively controlled. Haven't really seen a flush moment for TLT just yet. IWM struggling a tiny bit. SPY. Now we're trying to take back that 5. Now we're trying to take back the 5. See if by noon this thing can really cross up. Volatility just dropping here. See if that 2-hour whips back around, but the 4-hour has crossed. So the main thing to watch here is, are we going to see the daily cross? That's going to be your, hey, bullish scenario is the daily's able to cross and we bought ourselves some time. If this 2-hour can whip back around, that's where it gets a little bit sketchy. But the likelihood of that, what's that 9-day do? Ooh, some topping out signals for the 9-day as well. Interesting. Very interesting. Struggling at the 5, just clicking through. Sorry guys, I'll get back to the chat in 1 second. My voice doesn't crack. What the hell? Microsoft looks all right. Good move. Okay. So yeah, still waiting to see, but nice to have daily expected moves because those touch some key levels. Bam. We hit the key level today. Is this all flagging in some way? Well, we'll see. I think hourly now might be, no, that one's still kind of wonky. 30 minutes still good. But we are attempting, you see us attempting to take back that 5-day moving average. That's a good sign. PCC down towards 0.81. Let me leave TLT up over here, just in case we gotta manage something in the next 30 minutes. Then I'm gonna go get me, maybe go to the gym and get some lunch, you know what I'm saying? Still pretty flaggy for TLT. All right, what you guys talking about? Carvana going down? Didn't this just have earnings recently? 30-minute was able to confirm up, but notice that the 2-hour did curl down. Okay, so the 30-minute crossing up's a good sign. The only problem is you did it in negative territory. That's kind of a problem. But you are reacting to a good level. You're still holding at the 5. So something you might do here is just hourly confirmation looks a little bit better. It looks a little bit smoother. You're getting those confirmations on 2 of the indicators. You want to see it on the 3rd, and then you can probably test that high, go make a new one. Yeah, Palantir's over the weekly, but there's no reversal signals in it, right? You're looking for some kind of reversal here, maybe a 15-minute by the end of the week or something like that. But one thing I'd be paying attention to is look at daily scales, right? If that's turning up, hey, that could be a good sign. But notice it's making that divergence point. That's a very good move. That was very strong, so I wouldn't really trust that divergence too much. But I would really say, since we experienced positivity, we're pretty damn positive, right? We're pretty positive here. So if we can curl down by that center line at any time, maybe even on a 15-minute, a little curl down by that center line, there could be something there for more upside, but it's just earnings. It's a 50-50 flip. You do mortgages? So does my brother. Huh. Gold's really struggling though. Volatility crushed on election day, yeah. Just crushed. Let's see what UVXY is doing with that. It's down 5.85%. It's kind of crazy. I don't do too many technicals on UVXY, mainly just looking at the VIX and looking at the SPY, seeing what's most probable. Right now, most probable is SPY's going to try to curl up on this 2-hour, right? And we might see something crazy. If we do this today, I'm a little bit worried. VIX gap is closed. But a lot of people calling the downturn today, so interesting. I don't see signal yet for that. If anything, this would be saying we're going to head higher, but also saying, hey, we're as high as we're supposed to go for the entire day. So is something unexpected going to happen? Because we did see a very high PCC yesterday. We did lose the 5. We have a 4-hour turning down, okay? So if the 4-hour is going to take some time, right, maybe we need to pay attention to a retest of the 50 as well, right? Because we could shoot down for a couple of days, maybe get down towards 19 and then turn back up. We'll see. But it's always a we could, but if this daily crosses over, it does suggest that we're going to head higher. I'm really thinking that seems unlikely. But anything can happen. Yeah, it's too exactly. That's what it seems like. I like that, AMs. I think it's like the only really good signal we see is TLT, but that's starting to turn down. See how that's starting to cross? Now you have 20 minutes left in the bar, but that is suggesting that TLT might head down for a second. So I'm still, thinking of if volatility doesn't pop up the trade, then I'm not going to take the trade. And DIA, this is still suggesting, this one is suggesting we're about to see upside. That's what DIA is suggesting. That's what the Dow Jones is saying. Loan origination. Yeah, you're an MLO. Visionaries and MLO. I actually took all the courses and all the stuff to become an MLO, and then I went, man, I do not want to do this. I paid all the money, took all the courses, was about to take the test, and I go, man, I just don't want to do this. I've always been good at that. If I really just I can realize I don't want to do something, I don't force myself. I'm just like, nah, not going to. Starting to buy positions in TLT. Interesting. Interesting. Maybe we have one more downward push that's not able to curl over the 2 hour. Maybe we just see this spike down for a little bit. That would be interesting. If this trade sets up, this is the one I'm going to take. I might even take an option play on this. If this goes bloop, bloop, if we go bloop, bloop, that's something that I will be looking into for sure, because TLT, it really is trying to base out here. It's building a ton of liquidity. And let me go check a monthly expected move for that guy. Pretty good size monthly expected move too. Not too big. The main big one is actually the weekly this week is pretty big for TLT. I think it's like 33% implied volatility, which is a lot for TLT. Just gotta see if these things can firm up. Most likely you're gonna need one more bar. Next bar is gonna be very important. If we get euphoric, I'm worried. If we do that, like we just get a cross up and go like that, I'm a little worried. But maybe we would consider a blip at this moment if that's going to turn up. Remember we were talking about the weekly. Remember we were talking about the weekly and how this MACD was interesting? Because a big majority of the time when you do see this crossover, you're going to be below that 9-day moving average. But you notice that wasn't the case this time. So we can still see if that holds. For the Qs here, sorry. I think I might have said SPY or something, but just an interesting day. Good thing we have daily expected moves as of right now. We'll see if they hold as resistance, because if this crosses up, I don't think that holds. Just remember this, bad things happen above 492.28. All right, TLT's starting to drop a little bit. $16 minutes left in the bar for TLT. And PCC at 0.8. Okay, we're up towards the daily expected move. PCC coming in at 0.802, so a little bit lower would be good there. 10 years starting to rise up, filling maybe a gap soon. 4 hour has curled up. We'll see if I can go fill up here. Interesting that has a gap. Where's the weekly for this as well? Okay, that's really low. So if we go to the weekly expected move for TLT, you're probably not making this divergence unless you get a big ass wick on a 30-minute bar. That's going to be tough. Meanwhile, Dow Jones still holding it. Okay. All right, I guess we'll just leave it on the 2 hour and be patient. Really looks like TLT wants to do it, at least reach down for lower prices right now. Ooh, you're officially starting to see something crazy over on the SPY. Apple not seeing it. Tesla might. Nvidia is. AMD might. Meta might. Microsoft looks almost identical to the SPY or the Qs right now. Okay. Look how close that is to the SPY. I think I just gotta trust the signals, right? If this curls up, then the 2 hour can bounce through. Maybe we see some positivity there. All right, what you guys looking at? IWM's doing the thing and has reversal signals in here. IWM is suggesting something else. Trying to look at these if they're gonna cross up, but IWM is suggesting it. And that could be a lot of Palantir, couldn't it? Just have to sit and watch that. Probably positively, and then what I would assume if Harris wins is positivity. What I would assume is positivity. Maybe we take out this high. And then if we take out this high, positivity, assuming Black Swan doesn't happen, I think we take out that high maybe, and then we end up seeing this correct, and then we actually head higher over time. Because that's your inflationary president candidate right there. So you would expect assets to inflate. But we'll just look at the signals from there on, right? I don't want to read into that too much. Anything can happen, you know, Jackal? But it's just if we're going to continue doing what we do right now and nothing breaks, well, then you would assume stocks most likely do go higher. Yeah, let me look at my other charts. It could be, but I think for a liquidity grab, you'd want to go into here. I think for a liquidity grab, you'd want to go into here. I know this is kind of a breakdown area. We can see that this is a major level, and this is exactly where the big call wall is at 575. Yeah, and I think the market surprise would be Trump's kind of the president that would most likely cause recession, which is a good thing for your prices at the grocery store. So if people shoot this up and then Trump wins, and I think it's more, does he win in a dramatic fashion that could downturn? Because maybe your really rich people start going, ooh, okay, he's going to cause a recession. Let me get out of this. But we'll just see in the signals, right? We don't want to read into it too much. Taking a short, seeing what happens. I wish you all the luck in the world. I think, but I still believe liquidity grab would be better to grab up in these levels. But technically, you have liquidity at 575, right? You have liquidity right here for the day, at least. I'll double check. Yeah, 575 for the day right there. And for the week is 580. So as I'm saying, the bigger liquidity grab, the liquidity grab for the day is here. The liquidity grab for the week would be here, 580. In my opinion. That's what I think. I think the bigger liquidity grab is at 580. I'm going to sit pretty and be patient. What's everyone doing after they leave the office today? Well, with everything you just listed, maybe getting water and some canned food now. Yeah, and Nvidia could reach higher levels. Thinking that it can't is a big problem. You are testing you'd say the gap, right? So that level could still be important. You're filling it. Awesome. Great stuff. See if you go a little higher. Maybe you fill this one. That's a liquidity grab. Let's look at a liquidity grab for this. Where would that lie? Let's see. Yeah, huge orders for Nvidia right now at 140. So it can go a little bit higher. After that, you're looking at 147 all the way up there. So huge amount of calls right now in Nvidia. So anywhere between 140 to 147 is going to be a big zone. It's a big zone. There's a ton of orders at the 140 and 147 level, which is interesting. And the way that this goes and makes a new high, look at the 4-hour, right by these center lines. So don't think that Nvidia can't hit a new all-time high. Right? If that 4-hour crosses up, that's what it would suggest. Maybe the election puts a damper on things, but you are hitting the exact area. Right above you would be the exact area where a bunch of orders are lying. And right now, TLT trying to cross down on a 30-minute, just so you are aware, but it is on a positive bar so far. Right, little 0.07. But this would indicate that momentum is starting to turn down. The only thing is, it's relatively controlled. I want to see if that makes like a little 5-minute handle rejects off of these. Or it can whip back up. That would be a good thing. And you see in real time getting rid of the divergence now. Dang. See, 575 not proving to be a good thing right now. Whoa, big flip. That happened just in a millisecond. It said 0.79 and then just flipped. Interesting. But we're not really getting any big hints out there, at least from what I'm seeing. These things aren't able to go positive, right? That's why 2 hours are very important. You want to see these 2 hours curling up kind of across the board. And taking back the 5. Which is something I don't like. I actually don't think I like the fact that this is... I don't like that that's adjusting. Wait for the close of the time frames, just so that's like a static number. God dang it. I don't like that either. I like this better. Ooh, Apple. Seeing some red come in right now for Apple. Ooh, maybe Apple actually goes and makes the divergence. That would be nice. All right, about 3 minutes. Let me click around on some other charts here. A lot of things slowing down. You could look for here is if this is going to break through, then the 5 minutes probably going to curl up into positive territory. All right, we'll leave this over on a 2 hour though, because that's the main thing, guys. And then I'll look at these smaller time frames on other charts here. I mean, that would probably be a decent retest. That is a liquidity grab. It's just 480 looks like the real liquidity grab, if I'm being honest. You're seeing a little bit of 15-minute weakness for Nvidia. Interesting market. Very confusing, but very interesting. Oh yeah, let me do this for volatility real quick on my other screen. Nope, didn't add up to anything. Unlucky. Trying to get a hint. Something give me a hint here. Let me look at this again with you guys. Okay, that was able to take it back. There. Pricing is so off. All right, TLT, seeing that one, looking at this, the 30-minute, did that cross? Yes, it did. It crossed on a positive bar. All right, that crossed on a positive bar, just barely, 0.03. See if TLT can hit like 97 by the end of the month. That would be solid. All right. I was hoping something would happen a little bit more. I mean, I know things are happening. I just wish a little bit more was happening towards all this. But unfortunately, we have to go see my dad this morning for a little bit. So I do have to hop off right away at this time. But I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate that we can have simple disagreements. I think that's perfectly fine. I hope that you guys have all the luck in the world trading today. If you want to learn anything, the courses are down there. They are on sale, 90% off just for November. So get them while they last. If you want to join the Patreon, come see those weekly ranges. You can do that too. Links are down in the description. But I just want to say thank you guys for being here. I know I wasn't watching the chat the entire stream today. So just mainly trying to figure out what's going on, seeing if I could find a hint. Couldn't really see one. So if I get a hint by the end of the day, I will be posting that to Patreon. Thank you guys so much for joining today. I gotta bounce. Peace.